Hello, everyone. Today, I want to talk about attorneys as reflections of their client. So, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that an attorney's strategy or an attorney's tactics on a particular case may reflect the style, attitude, and personality of the client themselves. So, it may not actually be that attorney's personality, it may be the client's personality. Why am I covering this topic? Well, on my last video, I talked about what an attorney should do when they have a client who asks the lawyer to do something unethical or illegal and perhaps even wants to pay the lawyer to do something unethical and illegal. And the attorney has to say no, has to shut it down. Well, that's an extreme sense, right? Most of the time, if the lawyer can do what the client wants, the lawyer is going to do that, all right? That's one of the first rules of customer service, right? Always make the client happy. So I'll give you two basic examples of what I'm talking about as far as the attorney reflecting the client. Then we'll get into some more detailed categorical examples that I find. Well, so let me give you an example. I may get a client who hires me, let's say, on a family law case, all right? And they feel very strongly about this case. They want you to go after their ex-spouse. Boom, 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 guns blazing, bang, bang, bang. Okay, so what's that person going to do? If they have the money, they're going to pay the lawyer to file things, file motions, okay, seek subpoenas, do investigations, all kinds of work on a case, even if a lot of it is perhaps, I don't want to say frivolous, but perhaps will only produce very small gains, if any at all. Well, if that client is tenacious and has the money, then that lawyer is going to become tenacious and is going to have the money. Now, let's flip to the opposite. There may be some clients who come and get the attorney and they say, look, just come up with something fair. I want this over with as quickly as possible. I want this over with as quickly as possible. Well, then the attorney is going to take on that type of personality and use tactics in order to settle the case quickly. So anytime you're on the side of a lawsuit, a family law dispute, or even a criminal case, think about how the lawyer's behaving and how that may be a reflection of the client. Now, let me give you a couple of examples of people who their personalities reflect or imprint onto the attorney. The first one I'm going to talk about is the journal taker or the record keeper. I just came up with that. Genius, I know. So I had a client one time on a personal injury case, and she had gone to the doctor, had multiple surgeries, okay, and she kept a journal for every single time that she went to the doctor. So when she's coming to me, boom, she's got like detailed records of every single time she went to the doctor. So I'd call her on the phone with a question and she would say, oh, Joe, well, hang on one second. Let me check. Let me look through here. Let me see what happened. Oh, on that date and that time, boom. So what happens? All of a sudden, I became the lawyer with all the answers. When the other attorney called me or somebody needed information on the case, boom, I could draw it right out because I could call her up. She could look into her journal and it was like boom, boom, boom. So what happens to me on that case? I'm able to produce very detailed records, very detailed descriptions of what happened, match all the medical records to exactly what she said and she remembered, and bang, because of that, the case probably came out a little bit stronger. Or I looked like a psycho because I had all this information that a lot of attorneys don't normally have. So the attorney on the other side is going to say, wow, this lawyer's sharp, he's on top of things, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe that's the case. Yeah, I admit I'm pretty good. Or I'm just reflecting the resources and the attitude that my client took to her case and her injuries, and then that's coming out of me because I'm not going to have those same abilities and resources on every single case. Most people don't keep a journal like that. Journals can be good. Okay, so that's one example. Let me give you another example. And this comes, I sort of alluded to this before. We'll talk about the risk taker and the non-risk taker, okay? So some clients will come to me and they'll be like, boom, Joe, let's do it. I want to go to trial, bang. So that's going to give me an attitude right from the beginning where it's like, boom, 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 I'm shooting, coming out guns blazing, or I'm very laissez-faire. Well, okay, I think we're going to go to trial on this. Da 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 da. Bop, bop, I'm going to do trial, right? And they're willing to, and even if I tell the client, well, you may lose, da 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 da, all right, they're willing to take on a large degree of risk, all right? And so my attitude, my take on the case is going to reflect that of my client. And you can pick up on this if you're on the other side of a case. Then you have another style, which I would call hands off, right? You get a decent number of clients who just say, look, Joe, I want you to do things your way, all right? Here you go. Here's the keys to the car. You take over, you drive it, right? And that allows me to be who I want to be on a particular case in order to get the best result. With some clients, that's not always possible. Some of them will just be on top of you the whole time, every single detail, texting, calling, emailing all the time. They want to know every move that you make, okay? So the reason I'm bringing this up is, number one, if you're a new attorney or a practicing attorney, and you perhaps find yourself doing things on cases that you wouldn't normally do, or not doing things on certain cases that you would normally do, think about the client, right? You sort of become a reflection of the client. And I think that's important to recognize. It's almost a piece of psychology. Number two, so I think this is valuable for all attorneys, but I think you got to remember, stay true to yourself, okay? Keep a bar. This is the most important part of this sort of video, is have a bar of performance on each of your cases that you apply no matter what, okay? So that you're giving that hands off the client the same attention that you would give that detail-oriented client. Now, the hands-off client may not give you the same tools, right? Because that person may not have a journal and this one will, but regardless, do everything you can to keep your level of service high and to the same standard for each client. The client's personality is still going to reflect on you a little bit, but again, you want to bring a high level of performance to every single case. And then number three, just be aware of this. This is something I realized after practicing for a long time and running through a lot of clients, because I would have clients on certain cases, okay, like say a DUI over here for person A, a DUI over here for person B, and I had to handle person A's DUI completely different. And I thought to myself, why? Why? Well, you sort of, again, you become a reflection of your client. And in a sense, that's your job as a lawyer, because you're an advocate, you're a mouthpiece, you are, to a certain degree, you're a tool, right? The client is the actual party, all right? The attorney is the weapon, okay? Or is the tool to move the mechanics of the legal system in a way that is favorable to the client. And so I think this is just something to be aware of in order to hold yourself to a high standard. It will also help you have keep your expectations in check for each client. Not everyone's going to have a journal. Some of them will. Some of them are going to be more averse to risk, and some of them will be more willing to take on risks. You know, with those risk-taking clients, you may get fantastic results or crushing results. Whereas the people who are risk averse, you know, you may fly smooth and you end up somewhere in the middle, right? That's when, you know, a person's facing 5 to 10 and they take a plea on a 2 to 4. Well, somebody else might say, well, I'm not taking that 2 to 4. I'm innocent. And boom, you go to trial, maybe a win and they get 0, or maybe a lose and then they get the 5 to 10 when they add a 2 to 4 on the table. So this is just something I thought about. I do think that the clients will imprint themselves. Part of their identity will come through in the attorney on how they litigate. And it's just funny observing yourself as an attorney when you have 40, 50, 60 cases, and you may be taking a feeling or thinking differently about one case than you do another, and you're thinking to yourself, why? It's like, well, these clients are different, even though they have similar legal issues that you are helping them with. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. My name's Joe Pometto. I'm Joe the Lawyer. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share on this channel. I cover legal topics, legal analysis, legal news, and I just give my thoughts on the practice of law. Thank you very much for tuning in.